The Emperor has foreseen a new threat rising against him. The Podwans Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome again to another episode of the Podwans Podcast. How are you guys doing today?
I'm good, Chase. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm almost done. Saturday I will be fully done with this move, and that feels great.
Hell yeah. I know how that feels, Chase.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun. And we're like only moving like 6 blocks away. So yeah, not fun. But yeah, everything's been good. Been playing lots of Monster Hunter.
I was waiting for that.
This is now the Podwans Monster Hunter podcast. What weapons have you guys been using? What's your favorite monster to hunt? Tell me.
You're asking the guy that hasn't played Monster Hunter since like
the dragon
30
one.
The dragon one. That's a good one. I love the dragon. Which one? Anyways, yeah, this has been an eventful week. I went to Emerald City Comic-Con, and I got to see some cool stuff. Got to go to a John Boyega panel, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But Hereth, how are you doing?
Exclusives.
You know, just as much as you're being assumed by like all this Monster Hunter content, I'm being consumed by Daredevil Born Again and Invincible. Like Invincible's finale came out today, and so fucking good.
Yeah, how many giant dragons are in either of those?
None, but it has.
That sounds so lame. Why would you waste your time?
We got Jeffrey D. Morgan's amazing voice that will consume my soul forever.
How big is his sword?
None, but his fucking
Which
fist
sword?
is fucking great.
Which sword are we talking about here, gentlemen?
This is.
He got a pretty big sword.
Yeah, no, I need swords the size of tractor trailers.
There's hey, our current
Hello, Nick.
our nice little Canadian boy. Oh, also Nick, the wedding registry is up if you would like to donate.
Also, you mean our inside source in the next couple weeks?
Oh yeah. By the way, Nick, you're didn't know if you knew this. You're gonna be our source for Star Wars Celebration. So there we go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, little Star Wars Celebration action later. Wow, there's 17 people in here. That's kind of cool. Anyway, Chase.
Yeah.
What Star Wise we've gotten a lot of cool things.
Sure, like the
What do we
first
got for
3
news?
movies were really cool. I think
really
Rogue
awesome.
Squadron on N64 was really good too.
Anyway, we've gotten some news bits about good old Andor.
We did. So I caught the tail end of Tony Gilroy's Q&A that they did on the Star Wars YouTube channel. It seemed very fluffy PR type of thing, nothing crazy. Had they shown that little sizzle reel at the end?
Yeah, that was what we talked about last week. It was the special look.
Yeah. It was cool. It was cool to see him. I loved his t-shirt, his little Narkina 5 swim club t-shirt. That was great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like I said, I caught like maybe the last like 10 minutes of it. And it just seemed like, it felt very safe, and not that like Tony Gilroy is not excited to do it. He seemed like he was having a good time, but it's just like, I was like, yes, this is a bigger, more explosive, lots of big things are going to happen this season. Like if you like season 1, you're going to love season 2. This will be the culmination to everything that happens in Rogue One, et cetera, et cetera. So like, it was a cool little hype piece. I had fun watching the last little bit of it.
Yeah.
Not even.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Hereth.
No, because because we can just really get into that because I feel like it's kind of just really the meat of the discussion, and plus that's kind of what everyone is tuning in for, because obviously that just happened in like not even like an hour and a half ago. So it's like everyone is coming off the high of like, oh my god, Tony Gilroy is just talking about all these things in Andor season 2, and like I said, I watched it like after the fact. Well, I was just like because I've got a couple of these Omnis behind me and I have to open them up and like make sure they don't break. So I was listening to it as I was just making sure about the glue doesn't break on them. And honestly, like I said, it was just fluffy PR stuff at the end of the day. I did enjoy seeing like creators like Jen Markham like had like a little bit of like a bit on there, like because they brought in like people from the community for these pre-recorded questions. Like Jen Markham asked about like production design and like costuming, obviously with her content style. Star Wars Explained asked about Tony Gilroy and like how they're shifting from week by week episodes more towards like bundling the episodes together in 3-episode arcs. And Tony Gilroy kind of came back out against like people that have been kind of complaining about the show doing that, because people are like trying to shape this narrative of like, oh, Disney's trying to ruin Andor by making it 3-episode arcs. And Tony Gilroy immediately came back after the clip came down. He goes, I'm actually kind of glad about this because this is how we shot the show and wrote the show. Is we wrote these as 8 Star Wars films. He's like, I made 8 Star Wars films and I really enjoyed making them, and I want people to watch it like this. And he gives people the choice to watch how they want to watch.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of want to have like on all sides of the aisle of pop culture, like they want this doom and gloom narrative. Like, oh, the studio's meddled and that's why it wasn't good. And it's like, yeah, that's true to an extent, but also like it's not like they hired some random person off the street to make these shows. Like they hired people they could trust. And so I think when you look at like with Tony Gilroy, you know, he's a seasoned Star Wars, you know, director and writer. So yeah, they're gonna give him like probably as much leeway as he wants and do it exactly how he wants to do it. And sure, there's gonna be, I guarantee you, there was corporate and studio oversight in Andor season 1 and there will be in Andor season 2. Disney has their hands on it. Disney is going to say, hey, we really think you should do X, Y, or Z, or we really think you shouldn't do A, B, and C. Whatever it is. Like that happened, I can guarantee you. The same way that 20th Century Fox did the same thing with George Lucas. You're never going to get around it. So yeah, I think him saying that, yeah, this is totally fine. Like, this is what I want. This is how we shot it. This is how we filmed it. This works perfectly for Andor season 2. I think it's great. I think it adds confidence to the project, and it adds confidence towards the directors and writers, as well as towards Lucasfilm and Disney. So
yeah,
it's cool.
I also get annoyed at it because I remember during Andor season 1, that was the discourse up until the prison arc in Andor, where people were like, "Oh my god, like the pacing is so slow, like the draw waiting week to week for the arcs," and then some people be like, "Oh, wait till the arcs are finished, then watch it." Like that was a talking point for a while, and then when Disney announced, "Hey, we're going to do this with season 2, or we're just going to release it arc by arc," a bunch of people just came out and were like, "This is terrible. Like, why are we doing this?" It's like, what do you guys want? Like obviously that I know it it's just it feels like a Twitter thing of like, I want my show discourse to last longer. So because to me it's like, I think that makes the show more accessible.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. It makes it more accessible, and I think it fits the story. If you're so bent out of shape that you have to see, like, here's the thing. I'm on the both aisle. I don't really care if you can tell a story in one episode. Awesome. If you can't, make it multiple episodes. I don't care if they come out all at once. I mean, look at what Netflix started right from the beginning, releasing the whole season of a show. You know, like,
yeah,
streaming has got us. Our attention span is so little now that we need instant gratification, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to just this short-sighted nature of it all. And like, I remember this with The Acolyte, of like people complaining about episode length and episode counts, and like how certain episodes felt like they should have been put together. And like, sure, there's validity to that, but like at the end of the day, this is not a like this isn't a live production. This isn't a play where like it's just that moment and you can only just talk about that moment. Like, you can go watch The Acolyte right now.
Mhm.
You can go watch Andor right now, and you can watch it at whatever pace you want to watch it at. You could watch it all right now. You could watch it episode by episode. You could watch it arc by arc. It doesn't matter, because like at the end of the day, the release window of this obviously is important, because this is when the most people at one time will be watching it. But if it's a good show, people are going to watch it. People are like, you're watching The Sopranos right now. Sopranos isn't relevant. It hasn't been relevant for over a decade, but it's a good show and it lasts. It's the same thing with Breaking Bad. I think that Stranger Things is another one. Like Stranger Things is a show that I guarantee you every time that, you know, when they're getting ready to do the final season, there are people who have never seen Stranger Things. They're going to watch season 1. Like they're going to be watching season 1 this year.
I think another one is like obviously Game of Thrones, like all of that. And
There's people that haven't seen Game of Thrones and they're going to watch it.
Band of Brothers, The Pacific.
Well, like in an Andor type of case, like obviously I'm saying this because of brain rot, but like Daredevil, Netflix's Daredevil series, because of Born Again being out, people are going back and watching the first 3 seasons of Daredevil for the first time and being like, oh my God, the show is incredible.
Yeah, there's these shows that the discourse around the premiere of these shows is always going to be, you know, I don't want to say that it's people are complaining for the sake of complaining. I think it's the people who were complaining about side A were complaining when season 1 was coming out, and the people who didn't have a problem with that and they like it that way, they're now complaining because they're on side B. So you typically just hear complaints, and it's like, the season isn't out. Anything is possible. This season could be horrible. Who knows? Right. Yeah. I find that highly unlikely, but anything is possible.
Agreed.
This, like Andor season 2 could suck. And if that's the case, that's the case. Like Andor season 1 still exists. You could still watch it. It's great. Rogue One still exists. You can watch it.
It's Rogue One, A New Hope. Yeah. The original trilogy is still there. Like here's my problem with all of this. People will bitch and moan and they'll complain about it because it gives them clicks. But at the end of the day, like we make it this simple. You don't have to like everything. We're not saying you do, but don't shit on someone else's. Don't yuck anybody else's yum.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, we can all exist in one plane of fandom. You know what I mean? Like, I don't particularly love EU. Chase is a big fan of the EU.
Yeah.
Like, but you don't see me going over to Chase and be like, the expanded universe was never canon because George Lucas didn't like it, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, there's no self-awareness.
There was one video on there's a couple videos on TikTok, but there's one in particular that was like the straw that broke my back and maybe did this whole like explanation of the expanded universe on TikTok. But it was just like what seemed like a like genuine, like, I really like the expanded universe. Like, let me have the thing I love, to like, oh, you are just an awful person. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's like it's because of it's political climate that we're in.
It's part of the political climate, but there's other things at play.
Yeah.
And this is not to yuck anyone's yum. I just think it is a byproduct of how we consume media. I think the Wikipedia-ification of the expanded universe ruined the expanded universe. I shouldn't say the expanded universe, like, because it's same thing with the shows. It's still there. You can go read any of those books. I think it ruined the fandom of the expanded universe. I think you had a bunch of people who read a decent amount to a lot of the expanded universe, played the games, read the comics, you know, all the fun stuff, right? And then you had people that started watching YouTubers summarize the expanded universe via Wikipedia. And this to me is frustrating because I have always viewed Wikipedia as a reference to something you already knew. Like my idea of Wikipedia was like, oh my gosh, who was the Jedi apprentice in Jedi Academy's friend that turns to the dark side? Like, what is his name? Oh, it's Rosh. Great. I couldn't remember it. I'm just going to Wikipedia Jedi Academy. There he is. There we go. Awesome. It's a great reference guide. It is
It's a
not
resource.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm the type that will look at Wikipedia articles, scroll all the way to the bottom, and go, "What source is there? Cool, I'm gonna go check out the sources."
Yeah, and I think a lot of people treat it like their fucking middle school book report.
Oh, God.
and it's just this thing of like, I read Wikipedia, so now I know everything about Mara Jade, right? It's just like,
Oh,
no.
we didn't even talk about that.
With the
Oh,
Mara
yeah,
Jade
that's like-
lightsaber.
Yeah, the
Yeah, that
Mara
came out-
Jade lightsaber.
Our friend David Xanatos 1138, he got it. It looks awesome. Like the case it comes in is really cool. There's like a Legends comic book you get with it as well.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. And this was the thing that like frustrated me so much about like seeing a lot of that expanded universe stuff. It was like, oh, Disney threw away the expanded universe. They got rid of it. They don't care about it. And I'm just like, they have taken like the Essential Legends collection, like some of those books, and I brought it up in my video, a lot of those books were out of print. Like you could not get them, from a bookstore. You couldn't go to a bookstore and order. You had to find them secondhand. And like the reality of the situation is, I'm guilty of it too. The people who were genuinely reading those books when they were new were young. And guess what? People in elementary school, middle school, and high school and college don't take super. Rest in peace, my camera. There we go. Hello. They don't take good care of their stuff like that. Like I have seen, like, I've gone to like used bookstores and I've seen old expanded universe books there, and they're like torn to shreds. They're yellowed, they're cracked, they're creased. And it's not just Star Wars, it's Star Trek, it's Alien, it's like old like Resident Evil books that I've seen. It's the Battlestar Galactica stuff that's out there. All of it. It's just like these like franchise novellas and novels that came out alongside all these big franchises from the 90s and 2000s. They're all just like tattered because it was a bunch of nerds that were reading them and like didn't realize like, oh, this is going to have some like lasting effect 30 years from now. And so it's just like, it was really hard to get a hold of something like not Heir to the Empire, but something like Last Command, right? Like that was hard to get, or like book 7 of the X-Wing saga, right? Like that's kind of hard to find these days. But what Disney has been doing is like, hey, the ones that people care about, like, let's be real, the ones people care about, let's put them back in print. Let's re-record some of the audiobooks.
Oh, that's the best part about these releases. It's finally getting unabridged versions of these audiobooks.
Because going back to some of like the books on tape of like the old Star Wars books, and I know it's like the go-to, but like Coruscant. Like every book on tape has Coruscant in it, not Coruscant, it's Coruscant. And it's like, it's funny. Like I remember listening to the first X-Wing book, and like, yeah, it has like really outdated stuff. And then like I remember re-listening to the one they re-recorded with Mark Thompson, and like, it's so much better. It's like a lot of care has been going into this stuff and stuff like that. Do you think that like 20th Century Fox and Hasbro would have released a Mara Jade lightsaber?
Hell no.
No, not a chance. Like George Lucas would have like gone to the factory. They would try to start it and burn it down. Like,
I mean, it's so bad that even like Seth Green made jokes about it on like Robot Chicken.
Yeah, like,
dude, they are so awesome. I love those things.
It's just one of those things of like, it's really frustrating as someone who like grew up with the expanded universe, got really into the expanded universe, and like I'm not like the encyclopedia of the EU. It's just something that like I spent a decent amount of time like as a fan like delving into. But yeah, like the Mara Jade lightsaber looks incredible. The amount of care they put into making that like a reality is really cool. It's really cool to see.
Yeah. Sorry, we got up on a trail. I didn't read the article and I didn't pay attention to the Q&A. What was the big thing that Tony talked about?
So getting back into the Q&A, because obviously I think that's what most people are here for, is obviously, like I said, it was mostly a season 1, like, hey, let's look back on season 1, look at all these big moments and like kind of talk about the behind the scenes. aspect of it, like from writing to production, all that. Like Bix was the first, the actress for Bix came on, talked about how she got into Andor and like how much she missed the character. Like she even talked about like how she had a tattoo of the character, and that's the only tattoo she has of any of her roles, and like how significant she is for that, and how sad she is to let that go. Genevieve O'Reilly came on, and we got vindication for this podcast because they started talking a little bit about season 2, not enough, but they kind of Tony Gilroy was like, I'll hint at stuff. And he talked about how he goes, when you get the opportunity to write a wedding, you write a wedding. And I was like, we got it.
Yeah.
We got it on the money. We know what's happening.
Yeah.
And then the next question was, what about his daughter? And he goes, can't talk about it in season 2. And I'm like, more vindication.
Yeah, I think that scene, that really good shot, is definitely going to be the wedding.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's on Chandrilla for sure.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think they'll
Yeah.
do it. I mean, it could be on Coruscant, but I think they'll do it.
It
on
looks
Chandrilla.
too bright, and
That's
like the
possible.
landscape, landscape is very different. Like in that shot, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
But obviously, like, yeah, I've been so out of Star Wars. I've been so busy with life in general. It's been hard to keep up with, but I am keeping up with the Andor stuff. But no, I'm just really excited that we're actually gonna get something Star Wars. And then what are the days that we, like, the time difference? When will we get that information from Celebration or see anything?
Ooh, what is the difference between Japan time and Eastern?
I don't know. But speaking of conventions, I figured I might as well bring it up.
Yeah.
I was at Emerald City Comic Con on Saturday. I just went to Saturday, but I did get to see the John Boyega panel, which was really cool to see. He talked about a bunch of stuff. He's doing he owns a production company now. So he's doing a lot of producing. They did a kind of a not stand in line Q&A, but you could submit questions type of Q&A. A lot of the stuff was about his other works, like Attack the Block and his other production stuff. And, people asked if he would ever want to direct a Star Wars story if he never came back. And he said, I'm terrified of directing.
I don't blame him.
And he's like, he mentioned, and this kind of comes back into the Star Wars thing is, he's like owning a production company. He's like, I gained a lot of respect for a lot of people like that. Obviously I'm sure he had, but when you see that perspective from that, well, not even just Kathy, but writers and set designers and stuff like that. When you're working directly with those people, you'll find from perspective of an actor to a producer, it's a huge shift. And so you see how that stuff works. He did talk about Star Wars, obviously. His tone, the whole convention.
Oh God.
And I don't want to speak for him because that's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going off of his responses and how he felt. It seemed like he had a lot of regret over the things he said in the past.
Ooh. Really?
He was asked, obviously, about what happens to Finn after Rise of Skywalker. It was funny because the first Star Wars question was, do you think Finn is force sensitive? And the person asking the question didn't even get to finish it, and he said yes. Finn is force sensitive.
Yeah.
He dropped a hint over the fact that it was not to please don't take this as any confirmation that things had been written for Finn post Rise of Skywalker in some type of capacity.
I think that's Rey's new Jedi Order.
So
for sure.
The thing about that, and the thing he said was, he's like, I think people need to understand how this industry works. Because I think there's a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors, all that stuff. He said, John said, I signed a contract with Disney and Lucasfilm to make 3 films. I made those 3 films. I am not a Disney or Lucasfilm employee. Daisy Harrison Mark, Carrie, and Oscar are not Lucasfilm employees. We do not work for Lucasfilm. We do not work for Disney. We were contracted by them, and we fulfilled our contract. If they want you to continue work with them, they call you. And he said, I have not received that call yet.
The infamous Disney code word for I have received the call, but I can't talk about it because of my NDA.
So he made the joke. He made a lot of jokes about Tom Holland, and his Disney used to have to worry about me, and now they have to worry about Tom. So I feel a lot safer. He had like really funny jokes about like the Disney snipers. Mickey Mouse with his sniper rifle is always trained on me. So like he's like, I literally can't tell you one way or the other, but it's like what I can say is I haven't received the call. And I forget the way he said, if I got the call, I would answer.
Oh, absolutely. I think it and not only because I think he genuinely enjoyed his time, minus the backlash.
Yes.
Minus all of the things that were out of his control. I think he genuinely loves the Star Wars community.
He does. He loves the Star Wars community. He loves Star Wars in general. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, because he leaked the script by accident because he left it in his hotel room.
He was in his apartment and he was moving and he left the script for Rise of Skywalker. He was saying he got so many, like he was getting phone calls all the time from like Disney executives, like, what do you mean you lost your script? What you cannot lose that script. So that was funny. One of the funniest things is he was like, I was like, I don't know if you guys have played this. Have you played Star Wars Battlefront 2? And everyone's like, woo, yeah. And he's like, so I love Battlefront 2. And he's like, you know what's crazy is you get to be yourself. So of course, every time I get the hero, I get to pick Finn. And it's like, yeah, it feels really good. He's like, but what doesn't feel good is when you're playing on like the bad guy's side and someone else picks Finn and then they kill you. And it's like, I just got killed by myself and I'm mad because Finn won, but he's like, I'm happy that Finn won, but I'm mad because I'm worse than that guy. So it was like, it was funny, but like the takeaway that I got was just the way that he kind of answered those Star Wars questions was he wants to come back and he feels like, I think that there's maybe a sense of, I may have burned a bridge or two and I regret burning that bridge.
Let's try to rebuild.
Yeah, because I think it's one of those things like we're talking about, this is all about profits at the end of the day.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Like you don't look like a coward for going back on what you said. You regret that the way he said it was, I think, the tough part. But like, if Disney, they made their investment back on Star Wars with one film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One film. And if I'm John Boyega, I'm thinking, oh man, I got a nice production company that could use some publicity and get some, he'd be dumb. I would say it wouldn't be in his best interest to not take that call.
He mentioned something along the lines of like, keep in mind when I made those movies, I was in my 20s and now I'm in my 30s and a lot in my life has changed. So like, I don't see Disney or Lucasfilm as like the type of company that will hold a grudge, especially to like one of their lead actors. Like Harrison Ford is Harrison Ford. He gets his own special privileges, but like at the end of the day, he is like I don't care. He did a really good interview about him being Red Hulk. And
I was reading that because people were talking about his like quote about Indy, and that had me dying of because people were like pressing him about like Dial of Destiny bombing at the box office, and it's like, what do you think, Harrison? He's like, shit happens. And it was like,
it happens. I got paid for that role, so it doesn't matter.
But the thing about Harrison is, he was talking about the Marvel movie he did where he was Red Hulk, and people are like, well, how do you feel about that? Like, do you think that's like the best thing? And he's like, let me tell you a secret. I don't care. I'm getting paid for this. And he's like, but there's a limit to it. He's like, he's like, I would not make a movie that I didn't feel like a fan wouldn't appreciate it. Like, it's like, I'm not going to get out there and do anything. I'm not, it's not like Dance Monkey Dance. It's he may not like the things he's doing. Like, he may not like Star Wars. He may not like the last 2 Indiana Jones movies. He may not like Marvel.
Well,
but he's like, you know what? There's millions of people that do, and he's not stupid. He knows that people look up to him, and they know that people love him and his work, and that he's affected them. And I think he's very grateful for that.
Well, on the Indiana Jones front, like he did say, like after the shit happened, quote, he says, he goes, I feel really bad when the movie bombed me because I was the one suggested to Lucasfilm, and I put my heart and soul into that type of story of Indy growing old and like his adventures are beyond him. He's like, I really wanted to tell that story. I'm still proud of that movie that Mangold made.
There's no reason that he shouldn't be proud of that story. Like,
No.
It's like, just because a movie is successful or not, like, I mean, Hollywood has hundreds of movies that failed in the box office but gained success years later. Like, I'm not saying that's going to happen with Indy 5, but it's just like movies bomb all the time. Like, it happens, and they can find, a home and a following, later down the line. So yeah, for me, like the stuff with John Boyega, he had a lot to say about Harrison, and he said he really, really respects Harrison Ford and like the stuff that he did for him when he was doing Star Wars. Had a lot of nice things to say about Carrie Fisher. So it was one of those things that like he clearly looks back fondly with about his time in Star Wars. He did say, so he was asked what his favorite Star Wars movie is. He said, my 2 favorites are Return of the Jedi and Rogue One. So that was cool. It was a cool thing to watch. I did, like, outside of that, I did get to sit like very, very briefly. I got to talk to John Jackson Miller because he was there.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah, about his book. Did you talk to him about his most recent book?
Not really. He kind of was just he was at his own little writer's block booth. So we kind of just talked about, because he wrote the entirety of like the first Old Republic comic series. And like, I have like the original print of that. And we talked about that for a little bit. Like, I talked to him for maybe a minute and a half, like, if I'm being real. Yes, he has a new Batman book that's out that he was pushing. That's like, that seems really cool. So there was other stuff that was cool. Like, I bought a print and talked to the guy who did the artwork for Halo 3 and Halo Reach, as well as like Destiny 2. Like, he like designed a lot of the spaceships and stuff like that. It's like, it was a cool convention, even though I just went for a day. We went to they had like a whole room in the top floor just dedicated to Star Wars and prop making and costume making and stuff like that. Like the 501st and Rebel Legion were there. Insane amount of Rey cosplayers.
And that's awesome. I love
insane amount. Like, you couldn't really like turn around without seeing someone in Rey cosplay, and all the different eras and stuff like that. So that was cool. Obviously lots of stormtroopers and Darth Vaders and all of that, but tons of Mandalorians, and then obviously it's a Comic-Con, so like everyone is there for everything. But you're like, wow, the only one who's being overshadowed is like the 47 Jinxes.
Did you see the B2?
No, I didn't see the B2. But yeah, I saw, like, when you went upstairs to where the Star Wars room was, you saw a ton of Star Wars cosplays. So it was cool. They had the droid builders were there too, which was really cool. Like, those guys are awesome.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think of anything else from going back to the Tony Gilroy Q&A. I'm trying to think of anything else of significance.
Well, I mean, the AI.
I mean, I was gonna get to that, but I was trying to think of like the last thing on the Q&A front.
Like I said, it was really a fluff piece. There really wasn't anything like groundbreaking about it. Like, it's cool to get hyped for it, but like, it was funny that they did the new Rainbow Six Siege X like event in Atlanta on the same day as the Q&A stream. I thought that was really funny. They're totally not related, but it was like, these are 2 huge like streams happening like back to back from each other.
But yeah, getting into the Collider article that like released earlier this week, and I sent it to Chase obviously because I thought it was just like an incredibly interesting read, and Collider asked like Tony Gilroy like, hey, like a while ago when like season 1 was coming out, you talked about the possibility of releasing these scripts for Andor season 1, and Tony Gilroy is like, yeah, I would love to do that. However, generative AI is this massive issue, and we do not want these scripts getting uploaded into ChatGPT and just replicated for that. And it's like, to me, it's like because like for the longest time, like when I was in college, my minor was media and film, and it's like I like was thinking about all these like 18-year-olds to 20-year-olds that would like who would love to read these Andor scripts and like adore the possibility of just like seeing how it was on the page versus how it was shot versus how it was in the edit, and like learning filmmaking through Andor. And it's like now that possibility has been snuffed out because these greedy AI factories and fucking corporations are funding this, and it's like now we will never see that reality. It is just shitty.
Yeah. It's frustrating because like I think we're starting to see more and more side effects of AI and like just the unexpected consequences of it. Like no one would have put on their AI bingo card that like creators would feel like they have to guard and protect their work even more because they don't want AI to get its hands on it. And like that comes at the detriment of other people who want to enter these creative fields. It's frustrating because it's just like I find myself surprised at people who are like so like when I look at AI, I'm usually like, nope, I'm good. And then you look at stuff like a lot of the like the folding computation that's been done for like medical research that was done through AI and like the breakthroughs that happened because of AI. And you're like, okay, like, all right, we do have like genuine applications for AI. Like we can save lives with AI, and that's awesome. And it's like there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's some discourse right now going on with Star Citizen because they are looking to do AI voice acting. But the way they want to do it, and they've come out and said, like, we don't want to do this as like, oh, you're getting AI voice lines. They want to hire voice actors purposefully, like letting them know, like, we want you to train our language model just for this piece so that like they're not just recording pre-recorded lines and then it's like, we're going to use your thing forever and ever and ever and ever. It's just like, we want you to know that we're trying to feed an algorithm to use your voice, and that's what you're signing up for. Not like you do your job as a traditional voice actor and then we co-opt it for AI. It's like, we want you to know that this is what it's going to be from the get-go. And it's just like, they have had voice actors come on and be like, this actually sounds great. And they want to figure out a way to compensate people accordingly of like, hey, as a project like this, it goes on for, quite some time. It's just like, hey, we continue to use your voice, and we figured out, we changed, certain things. Like, how do we pay people that way? Because this is another thing that people are concerned about is it's like, okay, I went into a studio, I recorded, and, I get paid $200 an hour, for my voice. Cool. And then if they use it for AI, well, that's frustrating because like they already got paid and now they're just going to be getting like maybe like a lump sum. But do we have it so that it's like every time we use it or every time we generate more dialogue using your voice through AI, do you get compensated for that? And that's something they're exploring is like, how do we compensate people for lending their voice to an AI language model?
Yeah, and it's like, I'm finding it very fascinating that like Star Citizen's trying to explore this, especially with like the video game strikes. I think they're still ongoing with like voice actors trying to seem like
people don't care about video games
because it's like because they obviously like with the writer strike, with writers like banning ChatGPT being used for scripts, because obviously some studio head was going to try it at some point. We all know they were going to try it at some point. Oh, can we have an AI generate an entire movie? And like now with like these really bad fan edits with like I saw the like I think I sent it in the group chat because it was so cursed that I immediately blocked it with like the Revenge of the Sith novelization, but like AI, and it looked so fucking bad. It looked so bad.
I've seen some fan videos that use AI, and you're right, they are all pretty terrible. But you know, I think the scariest thing is like the thing that people have said is like, this is the worst it's going to be. It only gets better from here. And it's like, there's almost like a, oh, you kind of want to see where it goes almost like, what are the benefits that we can get? Like, sure. Like, I think someone could certainly raise benefits and like helpful things that AI can do. Like I said, like what we've done, what we've done with the medical field, like is there a way to put that in a creative field and have like the good benefits? And it's like, you know, can people use AI to better compensate creative people? And that's where it's just like, it gets really scary. And I'm just like, I just don't want it.
Well, it's also like stuff like where, for example, like when Secret Invasion, their entire intro was generated by AI. It's like yeah, I don't ever want to get to the point where it's like we're losing the artistry in writing and directing and like in like visual effects, like acting. It's like, again, I'm not trying to go after this like this person in the comment section, but it's like I don't want to see the day where we just start resurrecting actors from the dead just for the sake of it and just like use their voices without like, because at least from the consent of the family, like James Earl Jones, I can excuse a little bit because at least they got like consent from both him and the Jones
daughter.
Estate. Yeah.
Daughter, I thought. Yeah.
Well, they did that for Alien Romulus. They did the same thing with Ian Holmes. And
they did with Top Gun as well, because from Val Kilmer.
Yeah. It's weird. It's really weird. I get kind of grossed out by it, but I'm like, part of me just wants to be like, how can we make this not the Terminator?
Yeah, basically. How do we not create Arnold Schwarzenegger again? Let's try to come up with that. You know?
Yeah. I use AI when I'm right here.
See, look, a Bedazzler and a Star Wars lawyer in a Pod One's chat. That's
looky there.
We haven't seen him in a very, very long time.
I'm waiting for the inevitable Chris comment. I've watched every episode. I just don't comment. It's coming in like
yeah, for sure. And for those that have been here for a little while, please like the stream. It would very much help.
But yeah, like it's weird. I'm glad that Tony Gilroy does have like a pretty strong stance against a lot of this stuff. Like that makes me feel better overall. That he's just like, I really don't want some silly nonsense affecting my work.
No, agreed. Yeah,
I like that. I think that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like also, I know you guys aren't too far into it, and I haven't read it, but also it's been out for like a week and a half. What are you guys' like first impressions on Mask of Fear? I know, like obviously when I first did it like last week, Luke was the only one that read it, and then now I know that you picked it up at a local bookshop.
I love this. I still love this fucking book. This book is so fucking good.
The book is very good. The book is like scary relevant.
Yeah, very much so relevant.
You're just like, I'm just like listening to it, and I'm just like, hold on, did NPR? Did my phone switch to NPR? Nope.
It is so fucking good.
Oh
my God.
I think Alexander Freed, again, just like when he's writing his characters, he gets those characters. Like he really understands the characters.
There's a lot of. I will say this about this book. There's a lot of references to
Oh, make
yes.
that. Do not make your plug subtle. It needs to be a big plug.
Yeah, that does need to be a big plug. I think again, like I said last week, this ties in. I feel like this is going to tie in very, very well with Andor season 2.
Yeah.
Because we are seeing Mon Mothma in a place after the end of season 1. Like, who am I? And it's gonna be interesting to see. Like, she wants to be the face of it, but she also knows that if she's the face of this, that a lot's going to happen to her, and it's going to be interesting. I wonder if this trilogy is going to like ultimately give us backstories for what all of these characters were doing. Whether we get introduced to Luthen in this book.
I think it's possible. Well, I don't know. I mean, Chris could probably say, but don't spoil it.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
I could see us getting a book that focuses around Luthen.
I think so too.
Yeah, I don't see why not at this point.
Yeah.
But
no, I've loved this book so far. It's becoming one of my favorites, and I didn't think that a Star Wars book that didn't have really anything to do with like your traditional Star Wars lightsabers, fucking weird Force shit. This is like a really good, and it is very, very relevant. Like the first chapter just kicks you right in the gut, at least in my opinion. Because it's like you go back and you think about Revenge of the Sith. This book takes place 2 weeks, not 2 months.
Yeah, and it's
2
like,
weeks.
yeah. I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but yeah, the book opens with basically a funeral, like a ceremonial funeral on Jeddah for the Jedi.
Yeah, and there's a certain character that's there.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah, because Haley's been reading it, and I'm reading it.
Why did you have to mention that, Chris? Emotional damage.
Also, you get to see the relationship between Mon and Perrin more clearly.
Oh
yes.
No!
And I love the mirror image of like Mon and Perrin and Bale and Brea.
Yes, it's complete
really cool.
opposites.
Yep.
Complete opposites. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So it like makes more sense of why Mon is so detached from Perrin in Andor. It answers a lot of questions of why she is so adamantly against her daughter getting married this young, because this happened to her and didn't work out well.
Yep.
But
yeah, it's good. I'm excited to see where it goes. Yeah, excited kind of where it leaves off towards the end. But yeah, I mean, he's a really talented writer. And I wish they would use him more.
I agree.
But obviously, I feel so bad for like putting this up here for the second time and not getting around to it. Like, I had the full intentions of reading it today. Like, I saw that Legacy of Vader issue 2 came out, and I've heard really good things about it because once again, Charles Soule being an amazing writer, and I'm like, I just missed it again.
I feel like I should grab this. Being a Vader / Anakin Skywalker fan, I should get this. Is it weird that I kind of feel like, why are you telling me this? This makes like you're just filling in more of like why I thought Kylo Ren should have been the big bad in the entire sequel trilogy, like fully fleshed him out. But you get him actually thinking about Anakin Skywalker instead of just Darth Vader, and I think that's an interesting perspective because we don't get a lot of that post Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, because the only reason I haven't picked it up is I'm more, when it comes to comics, I'm very much like buy the trade or buy an Omni guy, where it's like I need almost the entire story or like an entire arc at once instead of just, I can't do issue by issue. Like I need like the entire arc in front of me. I need to like see everything clearly. Like I know we joke about that with Andor, where it's like with the whole piece by piece thing, but it's like with comics especially. I can't do digital comics. I'm much more like I need the book in my hand. I need to flip through the panels and see everything.
Yeah.
Compared to like that kind of stuff. Like, but no, like I did see like light spoiler. I guess I did see that like Charles Soule is like doing very interesting things with Ben, where it's like last week he made like the readers think like, oh my god, did Anakin kill Watto? And like it played into like Kylo's perception of like, oh, this is why Anakin is the way he is and he's so evil. And then he like goes to Tatooine and finds out that no, Watto's still alive, he's still kicking. And he's like, why didn't Anakin murder him when he was here? Not realizing that it connects back to Star Wars 2015 and why he was at like Tatooine was because he was trying to figure out what Luke was doing, and like how the Lars homestead and like why it is the way it is. So it's like I love how they're playing on like Ben's misconceptions of Anakin, and like it even plays on the misconception of the fandom because like obviously like what Chase said earlier was like Wikipedia enjoyers of like people that only like watch YouTube casually and we're like, oh yeah, I loved it in Legends when Anakin murdered Watto. He was so metal, and it's like Anakin doesn't give a fuck about Watto at this point in time when he's Vader. He doesn't care. He has bigger shit to do at this point in time than go back and like kill his slave owner. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I think that it's just like these types of stories are always interesting because I mean, if you go back and look at the expanded universe with the original trilogy and then also the prequel trilogy, like they change the context, like they really do. Like both expanded universe and like the new canon, it's just like when we get these other stories, whether they're comics or books or games or like shows or other movies, like think about how Rogue One changes the context of A New Hope, like drastically.
Absolutely.
And it's like, not that I'm saying like New Hope is a bad movie. I think it's a great movie, but like it
enhances it a lot.
Yeah, I'm a Rise of Skywalker defender. I like the story arc of Ben Solo in that movie.
I would agree.
And I think like having more nuance to that character that can, I think more nuance can only tend to enhance whether you liked or disliked whatever decision of the source that it's referencing. Like I think it's always good because if you liked it, it's just more fun and more fluff. If you didn't like it, it offers you a new perspective. Because like I know we have friends that don't like Rise of Skywalker. We have friends that don't like The Last Jedi. We have friends that don't like any of the sequels.
We have friends that don't like Star Wars at all.
What a concept.
Weird. But yeah, it's just one of those things that like my perspective of the Rise of Skywalker versus someone else's perspective, like it honestly doesn't matter. Like what you like, don't like what you don't like, don't be a dick. But like when the one thing I don't like, and I know that like some like more disingenuous creators like to, reference certain new storylines and be like, see, they even knew that this was trash and they're fixing it. And it's just like, why didn't we get this to begin with? And it's like, hindsight's 2020. I'm sure that people who worked on Rise of Skywalker worked on like Rian Johnson has said he had regrets about how he did certain things in The Last Jedi. George Lucas has said he had regrets. Why do you think the special editions exist? Like he had regrets about the original trilogy. He had regrets about the prequel trilogy. That's why there are prequel trilogy special editions. Like
also like I'm gonna take these people, sit them down in a chair and go, look, George made an entire 7-season TV show to retroactively go back and address issues that he had with the prequel trilogy. Like, shut the fuck up. Star Wars has always been retroactive.
Yeah. So like having these stories, always take them with like, hey, this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to like, and again, you don't have to like it. If Legacy of Vader for you didn't like Last Jedi or you didn't like Rise of Skywalker and this makes it worse. Okay.
You're not the intended audience for this book then.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that like, I think, for any any company that's making media, they have to stick to their guns to some extent. And it's like, yeah, you may not like Rise of Skywalker, you may not like Last Jedi or any of the sequels. They're keeping him.
They're here to stay, bucko, whether you like it or not.
People like those movies. It is one of those things that when I look at I know Rotten Tomatoes is not like the end all be all, but the fact that like the audience review score for Rise of Skywalker is like the highest of all of the Star Wars movies, I think is hilarious. It's like 81%.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
But yeah, I think that's a good place to end the episode. I think we've gone kind of full circle and like hit everything that we kind of wanted to hit on.
Yeah.
So starting next week, we will begin our countdown to Andor season 2. Next week we are going to be covering the first 2 episodes of Andor season
3. We're taking it arc by arc.
3. Oh, okay, arc by arc. So we will be watching Andor season 1, 2, and 3 to get kind of back into the Andor swing.
That's exciting. I like
rewatch on Pod once. I'd never heard of that before.
I think
man, good. It's not like we haven't done this before. Anyway,
I think Andor's pretty good.
Andor's pretty bomb. Anyway.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this evening. Hereth, where can we find you all over the internet?
Well, you could find me primarily on TikTok, Threads, and Instagram at Hereth Productions, where you can watch me mostly nerd out on my Instagram story about Daredevil Born Again, and then this most recent episode of Invincible, and as we wait for this next season. And then, of course, you could follow me there as well as a nerd about Andor too. So yeah.
Amazing. Luke, where can I find you on the internet?
You can find me at Jedi Master Eggs on all social medias, and you can follow the Pod Ones on all social medias. I'm trying to think. Alanis is going out of town on Sunday. I got to think of what I could do. Might have to come up with a stream. I said that I was going to play Battlegrounds last weekend, and then I didn't. So now I kind of feel like I should. I think it might be a good little Q&A. I got to figure out some other things, but yeah, I think that might be something I do this weekend. We'll see.
Nice. Well, you can find me on TikTok and Twitch and YouTube sometimes at Forward Into the Black. You can also find me on Blue Sky, and you can always find me here on Thursdays talking about Star Wars and other things with the Pod Ones. And now you can also find me on Wednesdays at The Dork Place on Twitch, talking to AJ Starkiller on shit I love with people I like.
Monster Hunter, the podcast. I'm kidding.
We talk more about Resident Evil than we
I know.
About
I was making fun of you and your brain rat.
Anyways, Monster Hunter is pretty good. Can't wait for G Rank. But yeah, so stop by there, stop by here, come chat, come hang out. Thanks to everyone in the chat today. We had a good amount of people just hanging out. And we will see you guys next time in the stream.